Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Detroit Tigers franchise rebuild here on Cardboard Cutouts. And this is going to be the season recap and the offseason episode. So let's start taking a look here. So we're going to start off with our starting pitchers, and first up is Michael Fulmer. He went 7-5 on the year, a 4.02 WHIP, and a 4.02 ERA, 1.42 WHIP. Next up is Spencer Turnbull. He had a 4.78 ERA and a 1.6 WHIP. It was not a very good year for him. Casey Mize, in his first full year in the big leagues, had a 4.42 ERA and a 1.41 WHIP. Now, Joey Wentz, who moved into the starting rotation after Matthew Boyd, had a 4.05 WHIP ERA and a 1.42 WHIP. Kyle Funkhauser, who's more of a reliever, had 4.39 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP. And then we have Matt Manny, who got called up in the September call-ups. He ended up pitching 7 innings for a 2.45 ERA with a 1.23 WHIP. Not a bad start to his major league career. Now next up is Julio Teheran, and I don't think I'm going to re-sign him. He just didn't have a very good year. He only pitched 159 innings, so he wasn't even an inning eater either. Now, another guy is Jose Urena. I don't think I'm going to re-sign him either. Once again, didn't have that great of a year. He had a 4.68 ERA and a 1.58 WHIP. And Daniel Norris is another guy I don't know if I'm going to re-sign. He's on a contract year. He had over a 5 ERA. And then Gregory Soto had a 4.97 ERA. It's just, so you can just see as we go through these that our pitching, starting and bullpen, just wasn't where it needs to be. As you see, Tyler Alexander here with over 4 ERA, and then Joe Jimenez had an over 6 ERA. He actually got demoted for a little while, and we had to call him back up after we traded Boyd. Now, the one person who was just awesome was Jose Cisnero. As you saw there, he had a sub 2 ERA, 1.57 to be exact. He ended up with 43 saves on the year. He only blew one, and that's just amazing. He appeared in 53 games, only allowing 9 earned runs. He was just amazing. There's no other way to put it. Michael Aoki, who got a call up late in the year, ended up with an over 6 ERA. So, but it's just not good enough any way, shape, or form with our pitching. We're going to have to do better. So now we go on to the position players, and first up is Wilson Ramos. He ended up with a 296 average and 15 home runs. He kind of cooled off after the All-Star break when he went into the break with 12 home runs. He did get hurt for the last month of the season, which obviously hurt his numbers a little bit, but there was kind of a drop in production. His average stayed up there, but he just wasn't producing the runs. It was him or driving someone else in. One of his backups, Grayson Grenier, he only had 10 at-bats in the major league level. He only hit 100, so you can't really blame him for a whole lot. And then we're looking at Winston Arebu, who we signed after Grenier got hurt for a while. Ended up hitting 208 in his limited action in the majors with 48 at-bats. And then Eric Haas, who we called up for a little while, he ended up with 88 at-bats with 5 RBIs and a 0.148 average. So we're going to need some help with Ramos here, because the goal is to re-sign Ramos for at least one more year, and hopefully maybe our draftee Sean Durant can come in and provide a little spark. Now on to Rianito Nunez. He only batted a 1.194 average. He did hit 14 home runs, and I think we're going to keep him around because his power potential is just too great to pass up. And then now we're looking at Miguel Cabrera, 0.264 average. He had 11 home runs, and you can just see that he's starting to decline pretty good here. He's getting up there in age, obviously 37. He's going to be 38 next year. I think we're going to keep him around. I want to see if I can't get him to the 500 home runs and the 3,000 hits next year, just to get that accomplishment for him. because that'd just be cool to see in the Tigers uniform. So that'll take us to Yariel Gonzalez, who got a cup of coffee this year. He ended up only hitting 196. He did hit 5 home runs and at 153 at bats. We're hoping for a little bit more production out of him, but I also think he's going to need some time to develop too. He's not quite ready. So next is Jonathan Scope, who's another guy we're hoping to resign in the offseason. We're hoping he can be a stopgap for hopefully Montoya, because we're going to move him to second. But he ended up hitting 250 with 23 home runs, which is really good for the way he started. Then we're looking at Harold Castro, ended up hitting 276 with 4 home runs. He's not really a power hitter, so I don't really care about that. The 276 average is pretty good for him. He played all over the place for us. Second, short, third, outfield, it didn't matter. Now, Candelario, a little bit of a disappointing season. He ended up only hitting 262 with only 14 home runs. I mean, he did get hurt for the last part of the year, but he also started slow, so we're looking for a little bit more out of him as well. Isaac Paredes, who got called up with September call-ups, ended up hitting 208, 1 home run and 53 at-bats. He's another guy who's going to really need to step it up with Montoya and Griggs coming in next year. We're still going to give him some time to develop. He's still a B potential, so there's still a lot he can grow into. We're not quite ready to give up on him. It's just he needs to kind of step up those offensive numbers. As you can see, he's still a really good fielder. Now, Willie Castro ended up hitting 289 for the year, 11 home runs. He hit pretty well for us at the top of the lineup. It sucks that his season got cut short with that injury at the end of the year. Hopefully he can bounce back and have a good season. Nathan Goodrum, 262, 10 home runs, 404 at-bats. He obviously got a lot more at-bats after Willie Castro went down. A decent year. I'm not sure if it's enough to stick around. His versatility is going to definitely help him out here. And I was trying to see some of our like Bob Montez's minor league stats there, but they had already got it erased because those seasons had ended. So now we're going to the outfielders, and Robbie Grossman's up. He had a 291 average, 19 home runs, 62 RBIs. As you can see here, he's having a career year. The average is his best in his career. His RBIs is the highest in his career, and his home run is the highest in his career. His double is the highest in his career, and his hits. So he had an absolute dominant of a year for himself. It's pretty exciting for him to come back and anchor that left field for us again next year. He's a very steady bat in a lineup that we needed, especially with the amount of struggles we had. Now we're looking at Victor Reyes, who was a very pleasant surprise for me. I did not expect him to do anything near what he was doing. He ended up hitting 291 average with 10 home runs and 50 RBIs and 19 steals. He just got on base. If we could have people that can drive in some runs, we would have won a few more games because Victor Reyes was on base for us. Now, Brock Deathridge got 200 at-bats. He ended up hitting 230 with 4 home runs and 20 RBIs. As you can see, he still needs some time to develop. We'll have to see what our outfield depth looks like and see what we're going to do with him. Akil Baddoo is another outfielder we had. He ended up hitting 205 with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. He definitely picked it up because when he got hurt and got sent down, he was only batting 100. And so that was nice to see him pick up that average. Derek Hill got up there for a little bit, as you can see, but he only had 4 at-bats, and he didn't get a hit. Now, Nomar Mazara, this is disappointing. The way he started the year, he was hitting over 400, and he ended up having 471 at-bats, and he dropped his average all the way down to 253 with only 12 home runs. He went on major power outages there at the end. So we are actually going to look at this game 163 between Houston and Los Angeles here. And the Angels are going to win this game. So they're going to win the tiebreaker, and they're going to get the better seed in the playoffs, as Houston will be the wild card. And here you can see how this playoffs are going to look. And you can see all the first round matchups and the wild card games there. Before we get into that, we're going to look at the awards here. First up is the MVP, and that's actually going to be Garrett Cole. Now, you don't see this too often with the pitcher winning the MVP. He had a pretty good year, 24-4 with a 2.48 ERA, and obviously he's going to win Cy Young with that performance. Yordan Alvarez is going to win the batting title with a 3.25 average and 46 home runs. Reliever of the year goes to Kirby Yates of the Blue Jays. He had a .7 ERA. And look at this. Joey Wentz is going to win Rookie of the Year. He had a pretty good year, I think. So it's nice to see him get that recognition there. Next up, Yordan Alvarez is going to win the Hank Aaron Award. So we're going to just kind of go through here a little quick at the Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers. And I don't think we win any of these. So kind of fitting, really. We didn't really have a whole lot of standouts other than obviously Joey Wentz, who just played his role, which is still good. So he'll be expected to kind of anchor the staff a little bit, especially after the bad year that Spencer Turnbull had. So we get to the end here, and the Houston Astros defeat the San Diego Padres 4-2 to win the 2021 World Series. And they had some pretty epic series going 7 games, 5 games, and then beating Cleveland. Now, no one of note retired except for Robinson Cano. As you can see here, he is the only inductee into the Hall of Fame after this year. So now on to the offseason, and our first move is we are firing our pitching coach. What we had this year just wasn't good enough. Jose Cisneros is the only one that had a good year. Everyone else was just bad. So that is our first move. We're going to be looking for someone else. So after offering a few coaches here, we're going to jump into the player negotiations. And the first up is Jonathan Scope. He's age 30. He wants like a 4 or 5 year deal. We only want him for 1, just to act as a stopgap. And he isn't super interested in that. It's not great to see. We were hoping we could get him a little bit of a discount. He didn't have the best of years. So we ended up going to look at Wilson Ramos, who wants a 4-year deal as well. And he's not interested in this 1-year deal at all. Really nothing is going to make him happy, which is not good to see. We were really hoping to re-sign these guys, especially for a team-friendly deal, and trade them next year. So after taking a couple of days, we decide we are going to tender Scope and Ramos. We just can't let them walk away for nothing. If they're re-signing, it's going to be a lot of money for 1 year, but we'll push hard to trade them if need be. But we can't lose these guys for absolutely nothing. That just throws a wrench in the plans. And speaking of Montano, not Montoya, which I was calling him earlier, here he is. He's 68 overall, but we all know what we're here for. We are going to officially move him over to second base now that he's officially on the team. And I think setting his secondary positions as first and third is justified, since those were his 2 main positions before we make this change. And would you look at that? That position change made him jump up to a 72 overall. Now, that's good, really good to see. He may even be a contender for a September call-up this year if he performs. Now, we decided we were going to add an arm this offseason, specifically a starter. And our first one we look at here is Johnny Cueto. We tried offering him a 1-year prove-it deal. He wasn't really having it. He wanted a little bit more security. So we ended up looking at Jake Odorizzi next, and same thing. We offer him a 1-year prove-it deal. Not interested, which I don't really blame for these guys, because we're not a very good team right now. Then we decided to look at an old Tiger, Rick Porcello. Another 1-year prove-it deal. Nothing. He is not having that as well. So we're kind of striking out here. Then we come across Anthony DeSclafani. At this point, we just kind of need to offer somebody. I think a 1-year deal for him is pretty good. He's 31 years old, but he had an over 5 ERA, so we're going to offer and see what he does. And then we're going to take a look here. The first big offseason signing is Trevor Story to the Cubs on a 6-year, $182.4 million deal. And then the first big trade happens as the Dodgers acquire Brandon Lowe for Justin Turner and Gavin Lux from the Rays. And the Tigers are going to get some good news here. It says Jonathan Scope and Wilson Ramos decide to sign their tender, and they are on the squad for next year. And then Noah Syndergaard goes to the Cardinals on a 6-year, $180 million deal. So, and then we get a notification that the next best pitcher, Max Scherzer, goes to the Athletics on a 1-year, $8 million deal. That's really low. And then Javier Baez goes to the Phillies. The Phillies also signed Starling Marte to the squad, so they're really beefing up their bats this year. And then lost in the shuffle, I forgot to show that it's Anthony DeSclafani does sign with the Tigers, so we get our arm. And then Carlos Correa goes to the Padres. What are the Padres going to do with all these shortstops? But, I mean, they have to do something, especially after they just lost this year's World Series, and they are looking to go back next year. So we're going to get to the Rule 5 draft here. We have the number 10 pick, and I look around and just nobody excites me. So I think we're going to skip this year, and we'll come back. We'll revisit it next year and see if there's anyone worth it then. So that's pretty much going to do it here. Let me guys know what you think of the offseason. Should we have added more? Should we not have added anything? Next episode is going to be the spring training episode, so be on the lookout for that. But that'll do it here. And we will see you next time here on Cardboard Cutouts. Have a good one.